Welcome back to Amerisogyny. I'm your host, Hannah Blue. You're listening to episode 61, Don't Cross the Line, highlighting what happens when boundaries are disrespected. Today, I'm bringing you stories of people who have done some very strange things or very awful things. What ties them all together? Boundaries were in place, and these people willingly crossed the line. So let's get into it. Our first stop, Detroit, Michigan. I don't know who needs to hear this, but people are allowed to break up with you. They really are. There are some people who get so upset to the point of obsession when someone breaks up with them. And to me, it's just bizarre. As humans, we meet people, we get into relationships, we break up. That's just the natural order of things. But sometimes, when a boundary is set and people want to leave, some people lose their minds. And in the worst of cases, people lose their lives. Like the woman I'm going to talk about now. Her name is Cinnamon Rigmaiden, and she's been hit with several charges: felony murder, assault with intent to murder, and 2 different counts of arson. That's right. After her ex-boyfriend broke up with her, she set his house on fire. Now, the prosecution believes the crime was premeditated. They say she planned it. On June 3rd, she waited until nighttime to visit her ex's home and spoke with her ex's uncle for 30 minutes before she set the fire. Her ex wasn't there, but his mother was, and so was his uncle and the uncle's partner. Rigmaiden didn't care. She set the fire anyway, knowing there were people inside. And she also knew that her ex's mother was disabled. Tina Duro was the ex's mother. She was partially paralyzed and had issues moving around. After firefighters extinguished the blaze, they found Duro's body on the 2nd floor. Investigators say she made it there trying to escape before she died. The uncle's partner jumped from the 2nd floor and broke her ankle. Now, according to Rigmaiden's lawyer, she says she only wanted to damage the home, not hurt anyone. But if she didn't want to hurt anyone, why did she set the fire with 3 people in it? Her excuse for setting the blaze? She wanted her ex to feel pain. My take, I think she's absolutely crazy and cruel, and she deserves to be locked up. You don't set a fire because a man breaks up with you. If he doesn't want you, accept it and move on. That's no excuse to hurt anyone. And clearly she had issues. After she set the fire, she went to McDonald's and bought cocaine. And what's worse, she even texted her ex, "Your house is on fire." That is pure evil. She deserves to be locked away for the rest of her life. No matter the reason, the ex-boyfriend set a boundary. He didn't want her anymore, and that should have been respected. Yet she didn't respect it, and now 2 people are hurt, and an innocent woman is dead. I am a believer in keeping your circle small, and this is why. You can't let just anyone around you, because you don't know what people are really thinking. In her mind, what she did was right. She set the home on fire so that he could feel her pain. Well, she succeeded in that. The man lost his mother, so he's going to be in pain until the day he dies. Our next stop, we're still in the United States. Let's travel to the state of Florida. Sarah Boone was charged with 2nd-degree murder for killing her boyfriend. He was 42-year-old George Torres. She zipped him up in a suitcase and left him there to suffocate to death. And this happened in 2020 on February 24th. And looking at her mugshot, she looks like she has issues. Now, Boone admitted she did zip him inside of a suitcase, but she said there was enough space for him to stick a couple of fingers out. Now, she said she went to bed and truly believed that Torres could get out of the suitcase on his own. And when she woke up the next morning, she found Torres inside the suitcase, dead. She claimed she never meant to leave him there. But here's the thing. Clearly, she's not the sharpest knife in the drawer, meaning she's not too smart, because she recorded videos of the incident on her phone. And in the videos, Torres is begging Boone to let him out of the suitcase, telling her he couldn't breathe. And what is she doing on the video? Teasing him and accusing him of cheating. On the video, Torres said, "Sarah, I can't effing breathe." And Boone responded, "Yeah, that's what you do when you choke me." Torres said, Sarah, I can't breathe, babe." She said, "That's on you. That's what I feel like when you cheat on me." And again, he begged, "Please, Sarah." And she said, "Shh." Oh, wow. My opinion, this is a creepy and an utterly stupid way to die. And apparently she beat him. According to the autopsy, Torres had scratches on his back and neck, a cut close to his busted lip, injuries to his shoulder, and contusions to his skull and forehead from blunt force trauma. Boone's trial should have happened already, but she keeps changing attorneys. I don't know if she has mental issues or if she's just pretending, but one of the former attorneys said Boone should represent herself as no attorney can satisfy her. She had a pretrial hearing on June 7th, and she complained about the 7th attorney assigned to her to the judge and wrote a 58-page letter citing all of her complaints. Her current lawyer is Patricia Cashman, and Cashman told the judge that she and Boone are at an impasse and that Boone walks out of every conference they have. According to Boone, "I feel she is untruthful with me and full-blown prejudiced against me, which I believe adds to her nasty attitude towards me, and I do not trust her. Everyone constantly blames me, that I am the reason why I am supposedly going on attorney number 8, which I am not the reason for any of them. Clearly, she's the problem." Apparently, Boone had boundaries. She complained to the boyfriend that he choked her, allegedly, and that he cheated on her. Okay. If boundaries are set against physical abuse and cheating, then you leave the man. You don't kill him. Another one who deserves to be in jail. She's heartless and scary. People, we're not boarding any planes yet. Let's stay in Florida for a while. Now, not every story I'm bringing you has to do with relationships. Some people are violent or bizarre all on their own. A McDonald's employee shot at customers after they complained about their order not being right. Am I surprised? No, because I've seen people act absolutely horrendous at fast food restaurants, and I just don't understand it. Let's get into what happened. Her name is Chastity Gardner, and she is 22. She is facing felony charges for opening fire on a customer's car during an argument, and the argument escalated over an incorrect order. She was charged with 1 count of aggravated assault with a deadly weapon, and she was being held in the Polk County Jail in Lakeland. Now, thank God, no one was hurt, And this happened on June 14th, around 1 a.m. According to Lakeland police, 2 customers complained because they felt their order was incorrect, and it escalated into an argument where Gardner threw a drink at the car. Well, the customers got pissed and jumped out of the car, pried open the drive-through window, and threw their drinks at Gardner. And that's when Gardner got her gun. She fired at the car several times as it drove off down the parking lot. Thank God neither of the customers were hit, but one bullet hit the car. I don't know what it is about fast food, especially McDonald's, that gets people so fired up. It's just food. And if you know you cannot work with the public, don't. Orlando Rowland is a retired police chief of the Orlando Police Department, and he says, "I'm shocked that she had a weapon of that sort in a place such as McDonald's as an employee." I agree. According to Rowland, it was totally uncalled for and unjustified for her to pull the gun on a customer through the drive-thru, regardless of what the situation was, unless there was a risk of great bodily harm that was going to be brought onto her, or there is a situation where someone was engaging in some activity that could result in bodily harm. Amen to that. I don't care what it is. Burgers, fries, ice cream. You don't pull out a gun when you're having a dispute. Now, I don't know how the men approached the situation. I don't know if they were disrespecting her or not. Either way, they didn't deserve to be shot at, and here's where the boundary was crossed. The customers had a right to complain about their order. When she threw that drink, she crossed the line. So yeah, this is totally on her. She had a job and her freedom, and she traded them in for a criminal record and jail time. And now it's time to get your tickets ready because we're leaving the U.S. Our next stop, Japan. I love little kids. I think they're just too cute and they bring a lot of joy. Now, when you think daycare, you think of a place that is supposed to have love and compassion and protect kids. Well, that's not what this teacher did. In Kagoshima, Japan, Natsuki Sasayama is 21 years old. She was arrested for trying to slash the neck of a 2-year-old baby. And what's disturbing, police found a pattern of frequent injuries in the class. That means she was abusing these babies. She was in charge of the class since April, and even her own attorney said her class had more injuries than any of the other classes. My question is, how did no one take notice of this? At 2 years old, some kids can talk. Didn't some of them go home and tell their parents? And if they did, were they ignored? Sasayama told the police she didn't intend to kill the child. Then why cut his throat? Crazy. You have to be very diligent about who's over your kids. There are some people who should never be around kids, and she's one of them. Still in Japan, folks. Manabu Waku is 51, and he was arrested for killing a woman he allegedly stalked. According to Waku, he gave her money. This happened on May 8th in Tokyo. The victim is Toshino Hirasawa, and she was 25 when she died. Police found Waku at the crime scene and detained him. They confiscated 2 knives. Police say Waku waited for her to return to her condo from the previous night and then stabbed her several dozen times. A witness says she was awakened by a woman screaming for help, and then she heard a man say, "I am not a stalker." Waku told police he wanted the girl to return the money he had given her. They have a bit of history. Years ago, Hirasawa worked at a bar, and Waku began visiting. In 2021, Hirasawa called police, saying a customer had hit on her and was waiting for her as she returned home. Waku was given a verbal warning, and they urged Hirasawa to move temporarily and avoid any contact from Waku. But in April of 2022, she called the police again and said that a customer who had been banned from the bar had shown up. It was Waku. On May 20th, 2022, the police issued a warning for Waku to stop harassing Hirasawa, but he didn't listen, and he was arrested 5 days later on suspicion of violating the anti-stalking law. He spent 20 days in detention, but was never indicted. Instead, police issued a restraining order against him. Now, he left her alone for a while, and the restraining order expired a year later without being extended. Why was Waku so angry? He told police he had given Hirasawa 10 million yen, which in the US is $64,000. That's a lot of money. He gave it to her so that she could open up her own bar. And he said he was coming to her house because he wanted his money. Waku's father seemed to back up his son's story. He said in 2021, he sold a car, a motorcycle, and expensive toy cars he collected as a hobby. When his father asked why he sold the items, he said he needed the money to marry a woman he was seeing. He said his son later took out loans and gave Hirasawa between 20 million and 30 million yen. His father also said that Waku described Hirasawa as a good girl. Well, at some point he stopped seeing her as good because he wanted his good money. That's still no reason to kill anyone. If someone owes you money, you take them to court. Even if she was dead broke and he knew he would never get the money, that was still no reason to take her life. I can't say that this woman tricked him because I wasn't there. It's clear to me he liked her and he wanted to help her out. But that's his story. She's not alive to tell hers. Well, now Mr. Waku is out of $64,000 and his freedom. My heart goes out to both families because clearly there were no winners here. We're still in Japan, and this next story is a bit strange. This also happened in Tokyo. A Japanese pianist was arrested for stealing a cabin attendant's apron. Now, if this isn't up clinical psych's alley, I don't know what is. He is Kazuya Sato. He's 34, and he admitted to stealing the apron and said, "Collecting aprons and women's uniforms is my hobby. I like to smell them and wear them myself." You know, I just keep thinking about some of these fans who watch these J dramas and C dramas and K dramas, and they really believe in their minds that just because a man is attractive and from another country, he's a prince. No, my dears. Sometimes some of these men are scarier than Jigsaw. Not only is he attractive, at least in my eyes, he's accomplished. He's won prizes at home and abroad for being a talented music artist. And how he got caught, employees noticed there was a lot of aprons missing. So apparently he liked to smell a lot of women. When police raided his house, they found aprons and nurse uniforms. Now, some people might ask, couldn't he have just bought the stuff over the internet? But that's not the issue. The issue is he wanted the scent on the clothes. In the world of psychology, that is called a fetish. Now, there were some very interesting comments under this post. One of them said, "I get it. There are all kinds of fetishes, and most of them probably know no borders. But how the hell are there so many men in Japan in particular with this fetish for stealing women's undies, aprons, nurse uniforms, and other articles of clothing? I gave up long ago trying to understand the sex appeal of it all, but I'm very curious of why it's such a thing in Japan." Is it? I never knew that. How interesting. The fact that it's common knowledge among women that you don't hang your undies up on a clothesline is quite telling in itself. And another said, it's part of the culture that the adult entertainment industry controls. Have a look at what's available, most notably schoolgirls, and you can see why these fetishes are considered to be normal and in some views acceptable. Another one said, another form of mental illness. Ding, 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 ding. I don't get what people get out of smelling other people's clothes, but if it makes them happy. Listeners, are you ready to leave Japan? After hearing that, I certainly am. Let's move on to Dubai, where a man was sentenced to death for killing his ex-girlfriend. This happened in July of 2020. The man said he killed his girlfriend because she wanted to end their relationship and, according to him, was having an affair with another person. I'm going to say this again. People are allowed to break up with you. There's nothing set in stone that you own your girlfriend. According to police, this was a premeditated murder. He stalked her for several days, and on the day of the murder, he broke into her home, slit her neck, and tore her intestines. A security guard was alerted by a resident in the building, and when he went to investigate, he found the victim lying in a pool of blood on the ground. After police investigated the scene and collected evidence, they took him into custody. The man said he dated the victim in 2017, but he soon found out that she had met other people on social media and wanted to end their relationship. This was a boundary she set, but by his own admission, he refused to break up with her and continued to stalk her. She even left the country to get away from him, but after 2 years, he found she had returned to Dubai for work. According to him, he found her and she agreed to get back with him if he loaned her $55,000 in their currency. I'm not sure what that is in the U.S., but he said he could only lend her $30,000 because he had lost his job. He claims he lended her the $30,000 and then found out she was dating another person. This led to them arguing, and she decided to break up with him again and returned the $30,000. Now here's the thing. If a woman breaks up with you and returns your money, you're a headache. He admitted he wanted revenge. He demanded that she broke up with the other person and continued the relationship, but she reported him to the police for intimidation. When the police questioned him, he promised he would not go near her again or intimidate her, but he did. He proceeded to call her and got angry when he wasn't able to reach her and threatened her again. This time with a knife and tools he bought specifically to kill her. And that's when he did, by stabbing her to death. My heart goes out to this poor young woman. Clearly, she realized she was with someone who was very mentally disturbed, and she wanted to get away from him, and he would not allow her to. When boundaries are disrespected, sometimes innocent people die. Our last stop, South Korea. Let's talk about another crazy man who ignored boundaries. He is Kim Rae-ah. His mugshot was released by the Suwon District Public Prosecutor's Office with a text that read, "This person is presumed to be innocent until a guilty verdict is confirmed." Yeah, okay. Kim Rae-ah has been charged with murdering his 21-year-old girlfriend on March 25th, and he is also charged with the attempted murder of the victim's 46-year-old mom at his home. According to police, and like the other people I have talked about in this episode, he killed the girl because she wanted to end their relationship. Allegedly, Kim had violent outbursts during their relationship and left bruises on her arm. He also destroyed her phone and allegedly said, "If she leaves me, I'll kill her and kill myself." Apparently, the mother was aware that he was violent and disturbed, and that's why she traveled with her daughter to the victim's home, because she knew her daughter wanted to break up with him. Now just imagine going to protect your daughter only to see her killed right in front of you. The victim's family wanted his mugshot and information to be released to curb dating violence. Now, Kim didn't want his mugshot and personal info to be released, and he appealed it, but the court ruled against him. The court said, "We must consider the extreme damage inflicted on the victims by the applicant, Lee, and the high degree of malice it brings upon society. It is socially necessary in order to ensure the people's right to know and prevent a recurrence of similar crimes, and thus is related to the public interest. A suspect's information can be released online for up to 30 days. And this is a new law South Korea adopted. The law allows police to reveal personal information of the suspects in serious crimes, such as sexual violence against minors, certain drug crimes, arson, armed revolt, and organized crime. And the law has certain stipulations, such as mandating the suspect's photo needs to have been taken within 30 days prior to it being released to the public. That means no old photos. If a suspect commits any of these crimes, people are going to know exactly what they look like. I think the law is very interesting and very responsible of South Korea. Of all the people that you have in your circle, choosing who you date and marry is one of the most important decisions you will ever make. In 2022 alone, over 48,000 women and girls were killed by intimate partners or family members. Can you imagine how many people have lost their lives to people who could not respect boundaries within the last 50 years? I imagine the amount is astronomical. How you, the listener, can protect yourself? Once you set a boundary and it has been crossed, notice I said a boundary, one boundary, not 2, not 5, not 20. Once you set a boundary and someone crosses it, that's your heads up to get away from that person. Toxic behavior usually has a pattern, and crossing boundaries is a part of that pattern. You need to be diligent about who you have in your lives, in your homes, in your beds. And with that, I'm out of time. If you learned anything from today's episode, feel free to follow me. By now you know where. Podbean, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Samsung, YouTube, iHeartRadio, and more. The weekend is here, folks. So I want you to be careful, set those boundaries, and keep them in place. I will be back with more stories. Until then, be easy, take care of yourselves, have a good weekend, and as always,